And now let's go out to Trey Yingst, who is live on the ground in southern Israel. Hey, Trey, we hear a green light has been given for a ground invasion at any moment.
Yeah, guys, good morning. A lot of anticipation around that looming ground offensive. Right now, we're here along the Israel-Gaza border. We've been watching all day as the Israelis continue airstrikes against targets along the Gaza Strip. Also, we can see from this vantage point where rockets are coming off of Gaza, targeting southern Israeli communities. There was a lull in the fighting overnight, a limited amount of rocket fire, an indication that Hamas and Islamic Jihad are trying to preserve their stockpiles. But I do want to show you the scene behind me here and have my cameraman just punch in to show you how close we are to Gaza. You can see some of the damage on these buildings as the Israelis continue to use not just airstrikes, but also artillery units along the border and even tanks trying to hit different positions. While that's taking place, occasionally you'll see rockets come off of the Gaza Strip, mostly the northern part where they're firing on southern and central Israel. During the night, we didn't see as much of this fighting, but there is an anticipation, like I said, growing around the preparations for that ground offensive. I do want you to listen here to a colonel that we spoke to in the Israeli military who discussed the timing of all of this and how long it might take. Take a listen.
We are furious. Right now we have a national historical mission to do, which is to clear Gaza from Hamas regime. Not to mention that these pictures encourage us to do the right thing and convince us that we should be prepared for a long battle.
This comes as American support continues to flow into this country. I do just want to have my cameraman pan back in here. We just saw another airstrike, and you're going to see it live here, the smoke rising up from the Gaza Strip. This has been a back and forth all day. I'm not going to toss to our next sound here. I just want to keep talking to you while you can see Gaza in the distance. But we did speak with the governor of New York yesterday, and she talked about the aid that's been coming in, not only armored vehicles, but other small diameter bombs and things the Israelis will need amid this campaign. It is expected to take months for Israel to enter Gaza and destroy and degrade Hamas capabilities inside the Strip. But as we're talking here and you're looking at this live image of Gaza, I do want to talk about the West Bank. Overnight, the Israelis continued their operations there, arresting more Hamas operatives, and there was a clash and a strike against a cell of militants in the West Bank. 12 Palestinians were killed and 1 Israeli border officer. This just gives you a sense of how active that possible third front can be. We talked about it yesterday, but Israel's no longer just worried about Gaza and Lebanon, but also inside the West Bank. And as we've seen over the past 24 hours, those proxies across the region. Guys?
Hey, Trey, I keep reading how the Israeli forces are getting concerned about what they don't know about what Hamas might have planned. Underwater drones, if they plan on going by sea, type of IED that would be able to blow up these tanks and flip them. Is there concern about what they don't know, about what could be awaiting them?
Yeah, absolutely. And they've recovered the weaponry that was brought into Israel. This is what these militants could carry on their backs and in motorcycles, the backs of pickup trucks. They brought weapons like IEDs and mines and RPGs. And this is just a fraction of what Hamas and Islamic Jihad have that they were using in this cross-border massacre that took place on October 7th. So when they actually enter the Gaza Strip, there will be likely car bombs they're facing, IEDs on the road, roadside bombs, small arms, and they will be ambushed in multiple locations. So just to give you a sense of what we've seen and how the Israelis are preparing, they'll likely go in first with D9 armored bulldozers. And these bulldozers will clear a path for the APCs and the tanks that will follow, and then the Israeli infantry troops. They won't take it all immediately. This will take weeks to do. They will go block by block. They will be engaged by thousands of militants that are inside Gaza. And there is a lot to be worried about for the Israelis as they enter, because Hamas and Islamic Jihad, these fighters and these militants grew up inside the Gaza Strip. They know Gaza like the backs of their hands. And so they're going to use their tunnel system. They're going to use any sort of booby traps they can muster. And they're also going to be engaging the Israelis immediately when they enter. So some of the reserve troops that will be a part of this operation into Gaza are training up. I've been talking with them, texting with them day and night, trying to get an idea of how prepared they feel. And they're worried. They are scared. They are prepared, and they are motivated because they saw what happened to southern Israel on October 7th. But there is fear among the soldiers because they know what they're walking into.
Trey, I'm so sorry,
ahead, you go
Anthony. Trey, can you talk about the extra layer of worry and concern because there's so many hostages still there? And there's the assumption that they may be in the tunnels underground. But these soldiers don't know. So what's going through their mind as you talk to them as they prepare for battle?
Yeah, Lawrence, I'm just going to have my cameraman pan back in here. There was another airstrike behind us right now. You're watching all of this unfold live. A very active scene. That smoke rising up there. My cameraman's going to punch in as much as we can so you can see.
Wow.
This is right now. It's taking place before our eyes as the Israeli Air Force continues to hammer these targets in Gaza. But as it relates to the hostages, at least publicly, they've not indicated they have any idea where these hostages are being held. And the analysis about what's taken place indicates they are spread out throughout the Gaza Strip. So it's not just Gaza City, what you're looking at behind me, the edges of Gaza City, but also Khan Yunis, the second largest city in Gaza, and Rafah, that southern city where so many people are trying to cross into Egypt. The hostages are certainly a priority for the Israelis, but we've heard from cabinet officials over the past several days who indicated the number one priority is destroying Hamas. You hear those jets overhead, you'll likely see more strikes, and we'll punch in and show you when they happen. But they're going to try and destroy Hamas and understand that these hostages, in some cases, may not be found immediately. There are special forces that need to get in there once the Israelis can secure territory, and they will certainly act on any intelligence they receive. But that is the most complicated part in all of this. There are soldiers, civilians, and foreigners inside Gaza, and they're not necessarily along the edge of the strip. They're likely deep inside Gaza and possibly beneath.
You know, Trey, you're standing there on the border, and when your cameraman was zooming in, it's obvious how close you are to the other side, to Hamas, who can't stand the people who are on your side in Israel. So now they're talking about Israel planning to establish a massive DMZ. We hear about that in North Korea and South Korea. After that'll be the length of the Gaza border fence after the ground assault, and they're saying it'll be enhanced in addition to the 40-mile fence that's already there. A wall that will drop down deep into the ground to block all the tunnels, a border fence with electric border sensors and cameras. How is that different than what's already there?
It's actually not that different. And a lot of what the Israeli political echelon has said over the past several days is to appease some of their constituents in the South, because they saw what happened and they're asking questions already about how it could have taken place. Because that wall is already there. The fence has barbed wire at the top with sensors and surveillance balloons and drones overhead. There already is a barrier underneath the ground to try and protect from tunneling into southern Israel. And so really the only new thing they've discussed is this zone in between southern Israel and Gaza that ultimately, when this operation is over, and it could be months from now, would just separate Gaza from southern Israel even further. The question I have been asking, and I continue to have, is how many people will actually remain in these communities along the border? Because a lot of houses will be just simply torn down. There was such bloodshed there and so many massacres that many of the families that have moved to other locations likely won't ever return. The government is working right now in the south to get those families housing near the Dead Sea and also in the southern city of Eilat near the Red Sea. And near Oz, for example, where we showed you images from yesterday, much of that community has moved to the southern city of Eilat that is hours from here. They're living in government-subsidized housing, and they're simply just trying to recoup what they can. But remember, 25% of that community alone is dead or missing. And it just gives you a sense of how these people have been displaced, and many of them likely will never return to this area along the Gaza border.
All right, Trey, we'll check in with you again soon. Stay safe.